Hello, everybody, and welcome to the new CalmCast interview series. I was gonna make an intro, but I didn't come up with one yet, and I can't really think of anything. So we're just gonna come out with this pretty much. So just right up at the top, just want to give you guys a couple things before we get started. So Jaitana had her mask on for the interview to get that authentic Jaitana experience. If you don't know about her, you will learn about her in this interview. And a special thanks up top also to everybody in the description box. I'm going to have a bunch of people linked because we talk about a lot of people. And I watched a bunch of people while writing. So this is extremely exciting for me because these guys in particular were just kind of like an inspiration as I was going. I think most of them knew that I was actually recording while I was in here. Two of them, or not recording, writing. Two of them knew I was writing. So go bother your favorite ASMR creators if you want me to interview them after you watch this, and if you like it. If you don't, I guess you wouldn't want me to interview them, but, you know. This series is also not going to be 100% ASMR, so I'll tag it when it is in the title like it is right now. This episode in particular is ASMR friendly, I'll say. We're softly speaking, but some things get giggly or kind of loud, which is why I'm kind of doing a somewhat soft speaking, but also kind of, just getting, roughly where we're going to be. Can get kind of loud, but it's more loud for ASMR. So like if you're using this for ASMR purposes, just know there might be some sounds that might, knock out of like the normal rhythm. Since this was an interview, this isn't meant to be just a pure ASMR experience. And really the last warning here, the second part of the break has some odd sounds. I accidentally left my reverb on from stream, so some echoey sounds may be heard. I tried my best to tear them all out. I thankfully had a second recording going in case something bad happened, but just so you guys know right off the bat. And that's pretty much it here, guys. I will say just enjoy the show and please tell me what you liked and what you didn't like, what I can make better. That way the next interviews can even be better, and maybe we can even get Jay back at another time and have some other questions here for her, because I'm sure I can come up with something else. Although this was a lot longer than I intended it to be, this intro is also a lot longer than I intended it to be, so I'm just gonna let you guys go. Enjoy the show, and let me know what you think, please. Please. Thank you. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of CalmCast Interviews, where we honestly just have a conversation and chill. And I have a few questions prepared, but really just want to relax and have a good time, because that's what CalmCast is. My guest co-conversationalist, and dare I say friend today, is an ASMR streamer, a YouTube and TikTok aspirationalist, Mortal Kombat enthusiast, beanie queen, glitter warrior, and the self-proclaimed chill neon ninja Jaitana. Welcome in, and the first hardball question for you. How are you today?
Pretty good. How about you? Love all of the title. About it 1,000%.
Yeah, I had a fun time writing that one in. So I'm doing all right. I know you've been having your tech issues here, but
yeah, it's a little frustrating, but I'm finding ways to make the best of it and get back and just kind of do what I gotta do. Keep it going.
Yeah, because I mean, in the work of like streaming and YouTube and doing all the like content creation stuff, it's like tech issues are your worst issues. So
Oh, I know. Trust me, I know.
yeah. I did this in the review of you here, but I just kind of wanted to go over because I've pretty much been in your stream since like roughly after the first month of you streaming, right around there. And now coming up on 2 years. It actually is 2 years, a couple days ago, I believe. And since I was promoted to VIP and recently mod, and hell yeah, love it. So we unironically like sort of kind of like go back a little bit at this point, but more talks than ever like lately. It's been
for sure.
Yeah, and it's been extremely fun and wholesome time building for me. What I would think of as a honestly unlikely friendship, in my opinion, because you were the only Twitch streamer I was actually watching for probably about a year, maybe over a year. Those first like 6 months too, I probably did not say much because I did not know Twitch at all. So you were pretty much my like hard introduction into Twitch ASMR.
I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yeah, because I wanted to give you like some info too on me of just being like, hey, like literally did not know anything else like for the longest time. Because then after you, I think it was like Tablob, and like that was it. Tablob. I don't know how you say his name.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not sure either, but I'm picking up what you're putting down. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's great also, but that's just where my next step was, you know. So the real basic stuff, just at first, how did you get into ASMR yourself?
Yeah, so my story is a little different than most because I did not really know what ASMR was until less than a week before I started streaming. Um, I
Okay.
had I was totally brand new to it. I didn't know like what it was about or what it, like why people listen to it. It was just a whole new concept for me. I guess I was living in a cave. I always say that anyway. And I had someone show me Nana Night Ray's Twitch account and her ASMR. And I looked up ASMR and there was a lot of ASMR that was like not my jam. And then
Hmm.
I watched her and I was like, oh my gosh, like she's so cool. Like it's cool that she does things her own way in her own style and she's unique. And I'm like, I guess if I brought my own spin to it, I just did everything my way and I just was myself. I think I could bring something to the table. Like maybe I could do this, like instead of comparing myself to other ASM artists and doing things how they do it, I'm like, if people like me how I want to do it, great. Like I'm only gonna do things that I personally like and I'm gonna want to do. And that's kind of how I started. Is I just kind of jumped on because yeah, I was absolutely nervous. I never thought of doing it. I was kind of pushed into it, and I'm glad that I was.
I mean, I knew some of that story, but it's just funny to me that it was Nana because she was probably the first like almost only Twitch streamer that was like recommended to me on YouTube.
Mm.
She was the first one I reviewed because I was like, YouTube kept recommending it over and over and over and over every single video of hers. Um, and then I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And yeah, she's great.
She is. She's super sweet, and she definitely played a huge part in not only me like understanding how to stream on Twitch, but helping me be welcome in the community and giving me tips. And like, we still talk on Instagram here and there too, and keep up with each other. Like, she just has such a nice personality too. So I feel really like honored to have her as someone that I can talk to in the community.
It's just so cool. It's awesome to hear different people's experiences of like who brought them in and like where, people leapt off. But you actually started doing ASMR pretty much when you heard about it,
I
which
had
is
no clue what I
crazy.
was doing. I had no clue if I'd be good at it. I'm like, you know what? I can make relaxing sounds. Let's just do that.
Yeah, yeah. Because I say this all the time and I'm a broken record. I've been around forever as far as like ASMR goes, like not content creation, but like consuming forever.
Hmm.
So it's so funny to me to be like, hey, what's up? Yeah, this ASMR thing. Yeah, I'm just jumping in.
It's a different concept because when I hear other ASMRs talk about their start, they talk about how they're a huge fan of ASMR like for years and
Mm,
how much it's helped them and they understood the concept of it and why it's so helpful. And I didn't understand that until after I was streaming. And then I started to hear people tell me how much it was helping them. And it took me a while for my head to wrap around that, like, am I really helping that much? But then later on, when I was going through a lot of health issues and stuff, when all that started, I got to a point where I started listening to ASMRs that I liked on Twitch while I was at work. And if it wasn't for that, I think that, like, I wouldn't have been able to, like, work. And then I started actually receiving the benefits of it myself, and I'm like truly understood. I'm like, yeah, this truly does help.
Yeah, and it helps a wide variety too. It's
Mm-hmm.
insane. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you were able to get like, the other end of it of being the one who's helping and then getting help back. It's good. That's what I
Yeah,
that's what I like about the ASMR community, especially on Twitch. The amount of helping back and forth too is it's incredible.
absolutely. So many positive people and just like support with, I really haven't had any drama with anybody, and it's just been so nice to talk to people and have people be so supportive of each other.
Yeah, I haven't experienced it really outside of Twitch because I've been trying to do some YouTube stuff, and as much fun as it's been, I feel like I'm in my own little world. Day one of streaming, I had people coming in from like other places. Like I saw mods from other channels and whatever coming in and be like, "Oh, you stream?" I was like, "I literally just started like an hour ago." Like, it was insane. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of ASMR specifically, do you have any like favorite or like go to triggers specifically?
I'd have to say, because it was like my day one, ocean wave sounds for sure. Because
Okay.
when I had my first mic, all I had to use was my hand
Mm.
because of the type of mic it was. And also, like, I'm a very proud Floridian. As anybody would know that listens to me on a consistent basis knows that I live in Florida and I absolutely love being Floridian. Here, no matter where you live, you're not too far from a beach ever.
Mm.
So I definitely love going to the beach when I can. And so the ocean waves have always been like very, very calming for me. So for me to be able to recreate that sound when I had it on my first mic, I started with my hands. And now since I use a 3DO, when I realized that I could like go a little bit above and beyond with it on the fuzzy soft, uh,
Mm.
that I think that's still one of my favorites. Personally, I love water sounds too when I'm listening to other ASMR artists. And I also like doing it online, even though I have this little fear in the back of my mind that one's gonna drop when I do it because I have to put it up in the air.
Man, constantly I worry about people who are doing that all the time. Like I have a big
Yeah.
metal jug, and I'm like, this is fine. It'll make a lot of noise, but it's gonna be fine. Yeah, anybody that's working with glass, like, please be careful.
And I did drop one time, but I happened to be on mute and it happened to be during a break. So I'm so thankful. Those are not, those ice globes are not easy to clean up, that's for sure.
I could imagine. I imagine it's not like just water in there either. It's probably like,
Oh, it's not, trust me. I don't
yeah,
know
yeah,
what's in there, but it's not water.
but it's viscous, yeah. So usually whenever somebody brings up like an ambient trigger, something like ocean waves,
Hmm.
for me they never brought on tingles. Did you, and have you ever had tingles, or do you not get them anymore? Or?
I did not experience tingles until, okay, this sounds weird, but and I think that it's changed since, but you're right. Like for me, ASMR, like the enjoyment of it was kind of just more of feeling relaxed instead of getting tingles at the beginning. So I didn't think I could get tingles. And then months later, one time when I was doing a gloves crinkle noise,
Mm-hmm.
I got tingles for the first time. And I was like, bro, this is what people feel. Like this is what's supposed to happen.
You started
And
getting tingles and then just wanted to scream, just like,
and
yes, it's happening.
so I'm like, yeah, I'm not immune to tingles. This is great. But I really truly don't get them often.
Hmm.
But I've noticed that glove crinkles will do it sometimes, and tapping does it for me a lot too. So some of them that I find that may be my favorite triggers aren't always the ones that give me tingles. Like fast taps will kind of give me tingles. And I usually get tingles from doing it like while I'm, it's definitely not every time I'm on. I'd say it's like maybe only once a month or once every 2 months. It's very rare,
Hmm.
but it usually happens while I'm doing it. And I think it's only happened once or twice when I've listened to someone else. I have to be in the perfect setting, and like it doesn't happen often.
Gotcha. So you're not like super sensitive to it, but you
Oh
can
no,
experience it.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me, which I've like I said, I've been around for a long time with this stuff, but I've seen a lot of polls and a lot of like people asking like if you were to say what's your favorite trigger, what gives you the most tingles. I think most people say tapping, whispers,
Hmm.
and then I think like soft speaking's up there, but I don't think it's even close to like just like the basic like tapping and whispers.
Probably.
Yeah, because I personally like soft speaking more, but I know I'm not in like a minority, but like I think people definitely lean towards whisper because that's probably my number one redeem right now is to switch to whispering, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. Like I'm good with that. I just start off where I'm comfortable, and then we switch.
Makes sense.
I think so. I mean, I put it on there immediately because I was like, I know people like whispering, so I'm gonna do that.
That was a good idea.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you. So I guess a good follow up on the trigger requests. Do you have any trigger requests that you have that have seen more attention than you thought they would?
I mean, pig scratching obviously is like the favorite, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize that like it would be such a hit. Most of my triggers have been experiments because, like I said, like I usually draw more inspiration from coming up with my own ideas instead of taking it from other ASM artists. The only trigger I've ever kind of done based on what I've seen from another ASM artist is the ice globes. Everything else, was either a suggestion from chat or my own experimentation. And I'm like, maybe this will sound cool. So pick scratching and I don't know, the other ones I think were obvious about how much attention they got, but that one I think surprised me. And maybe the amounts of different type of tapping requests that I get.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, the guitar pick scratching, like when you started doing that, it was, I don't remember like day one, but I do remember just like the first times hearing it of being like, all right, I gotta go lay down. It's like I can't sit up for this.
I mean,
Um,
it puts me to sleep sometimes while I'm doing it. I
yeah.
mean, like not like to sleep, but sometimes it's hard. Like I like when people redeem it towards the end of the stream because I'm like, okay, I'm
Hmm.
ready to go to bed now. But yeah, and I think maybe because it's a little more intense, than some of
Yeah.
my other triggers, that's probably something that I need to consider when creating more triggers in the future.
Yeah, I think it's good for that too. Of like, it's a good stream ender. It's a good like, because most of your stream is so low volume, and then
Hmm.
like you hit pick scratching, and then it's like, okay, guys, here come the headphones because it's too loud. Like, and it's just yeah, it's a good one. I've never redeemed it because I'm like mainly because this goes across the board with every Twitch streamer, but I'm like I don't want to make you have to like not talk because for me it's I like interacting with chat as a streamer and
Yeah,
as a member of chat.
for
Um,
sure, for sure.
so I'm just like I don't want to redeem it, and then somebody else will, and I'm like, I mean, I'm not complaining.
Well, you're welcome to redeem it. Sometimes it is hard to not talk, especially because it
Mm,
seems that whenever I have a no talking trigger and I put the headphones on top of the 3DO for whatever trigger I'm using, it seems that's when the most stuff happens. Like I'd get like
yeah,
a 300-person raid or,
yeah, yeah.
people start dropping subs and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to interact so bad.
And that's
And
probably on purpose. Maybe not the raids, but like definitely people like subbing and stuff. It's just like,
I
haha,
know.
she can't do anything. Let's press a button.
I never thought of that, but that makes sense.
It might be because I know there's some people out there who just do it. I've done it before to somebody. I'm sure. But I like to make my little jokes and stuff. So, but I'll actually hang around until you're able to come back around to it to be like,
That's
we're good.
great.
It's funny.
I do my best to motion with my hands and talk with my eyes in those moments and try to show my appreciation the best I can. And people probably can tell that it's painful for me to not have to talk, but for the sake of the trigger and the experience, I have to keep it going.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're not gonna, especially when it's like hard to stop. Like that one's like you have to like mute everything, take the headphone off, and then like,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So
Mm-hmm.
that one's a little rough for that aspect.
For sure.
Are there any trigger requests that have not seen the attention that you think maybe not to like deserve more of a shot, but even just ones that you enjoy a lot that don't get picked?
Mm, I think like gloves crinkle,
Mm,
but
your
I think a
favorite?
lot of well, it's not really my favorite, but it's the ones that gave me tingles the first time.
Right.
Um, Pencil noises, which I like the sound of, but I need to figure out a different setup because honestly, like that one's probably the most painful for me to do because I have to hold it like up to the microphone and like try to make it to where like I'm not bonking it and do
Mm,
it at a certain angle. So sometimes like it kind of hurts to hold it up a little bit. I don't see a lot of action on that one, but I did think it was something that would get more attention. So probably those two.
gotcha. Yeah, I don't know if I've even seen the pencil one.
Yeah, I had um one person and he comes in every now and then still, but that would always be the only one requesting it for the most part.
Hmm.
But like I'm not gonna lie, like it was really fun during the nostalgia stream with the like 90s, early 2000s nostalgia, and I did the Lisa Frank coloring book because then like that got
Oh
more
yeah.
action and I got to color on stream. Like that's a dream.
Right. Who doesn't
Like
want to?
look at my colorful unicorn, guys.
And you always want to bring more color anyway, as much as you can. So
Exactly. I still don't have enough neons.
yeah. And speaking of the neons, goes into the next thing I want to talk about perfectly. Because anyone who sees your channel that like jumps in is going to immediately see a fairly large Mortal Kombat sign, and as soon as you see that, if you're a little more observant, you can see the shelving to the side with a Sub-Zero figurine and Scorpion, and I don't know if Shao Kahn is
Shao
still
Kahn
on
is,
screen.
yeah, but interesting you made that observation because recently his little stand, you know
Mm.
how like with the action figures it's got the little nub at the top and it hooks at the foot?
Oh sure,
Well,
yeah.
he fell and the nub came with him inside his foot, so he can't stand on his own anymore.
Oh, so that's why he's not there.
Yes, that was very observant of you.
Yeah, because I was just like looking through some old stuff, and I was like, he used to be there. He's not there anymore.
Well, he's still a redeem. So if somebody
Yes.
does the you win, you know, like
Hmm.
he's coming out no matter what. But he's just sleeping in the meantime.
He's just not on display. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to prop him up though, because even though he's a jerk, like he's definitely one of the best action figures of the collection. Like it looks so cool.
And I mean, you gotta have somebody that you don't like in a fighting game
Oh yeah,
to
for
want to
sure.
fight
That's
them,
not
right? So like,
exactly.
Mortal Kombat's just like a huge part of your aesthetic in general, just being like between Katana and Jade vibes. I mean, I pretty much just gonna ask like why Mortal Kombat, like how MK influenced itself into being like a mascot of an ASMR stream of all things.
So, as far, I mean, Twitch is like obviously a gaming community.
Hmm.
And even though like I jumped in on ASMR, like it's so fun to talk video games with everybody, even though I don't play them as much as I used to, just because I've got a lot going on. Mortal Kombat's definitely the thing that I nerd out about the most when it comes to gaming. And the character that I've never had a character that I felt like I connected with like Katana. Like when I decided to do ASMR and I actually decided to use a mask because I was nervous. And it was
Mm.
not initially supposed to be like, oh, because of it's just kind of like it was a byproduct of like, oh my God, I get to be more like a Mortal Kombat character now because I'm wearing a mask, you know? And it just kind of like started that way. And my love for Mortal Kombat just kind of influenced itself in the stream. And I never, and like, if you were to ask any other streamers, like whenever I raid or something, call me the Mortal Kombat ASMR.
Hmm.
And I never would have expected that that would be like my brand or anything like that. But I love it because I love Mortal Kombat so much, and it's just a really fun thing to talk about with the community that I think that is like such a connecting thread. But like, of course, you don't have to love Mortal Kombat or like Mortal Kombat or know anything about it to enjoy the community, enjoy the ASMR. It's just kind of like my fun, nerdy connection, and just because I'm so into everything Mortal Kombat, like I could just talk about it for a long time. And I just like, I really just want to be Katana. I would love to do like so many different cosplays for Mortal Kombat. It's just, it's the game that I just feel super into. And because it's a gaming community, that kind of became like my corner, I guess.
It's it's just so funny to me because it's definitely what like brought me in the beginning.
Mm.
Just because at the time, like I was really getting into fighting games, so it's like I was playing Street Fighter for like the first time when I joined your stream. So it was just funny seeing like some Mortal Kombat stuff and then just seeing it evolve over time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like perfect of the two worlds of being like, oh, I'm really into ASMR. I just started fighting games. There's literally a Mortal Kombat ASMR streamer. Like, let's go, dude.
I
And it,
like it though because it's not how I initially intended it for it to be so about Mortal Kombat. But
mm,
because like I've always wanted to like be Katana in a way or like cosplay her, this felt like wow, I really get to kind of bring Mortal Kombat out in this. And like because I was so into LEDs, once I found out that there was a Mortal Kombat LED dragon, I'm like, okay, I need it, you know? And I actually think that that's what brings a lot of people in. Like that's sometimes the first thing they chat and they're like, hey, I love your sign. And I'm like, heck yeah, we can talk Mortal Kombat. Let's go.
so it's a good icebreaker, and it's also just like, hey, I'm really into it, so let's talk about it. Which is good. You don't want an icebreaker that you don't want to talk about, right? So,
That's true.
um,
That's true.
yeah. I think it's also funny that there's such a reaction to ASMR physically, and Mortal Kombat is such a visceral game that it's like it almost like kind of makes sense in like the strangest way possible. It like almost it's so close to making sense.
It's like
But
they're
it does
so
work.
that's so funny. They're so opposite, but it's just like even whenever I read J-Rob or if I'm in his chat, he'll always bring it up and he's like, I don't know how it works, but she makes it work.
Mhm.
Also, he's awesome, by the way. For
J-Rob.
anyone that yeah, for
Yeah.
anyone that doesn't know,
Yes,
J-Rob is
J-Rob the
human.
human. Yeah. I've made a couple of his streams. Every time I pop in, he says hi to me. Has no idea who I am. It's really nice. Like he's really nice.
He
Um,
is super nice, and I think he was one of my first ASMR artist that I started to love other than Nana
mm,
because of the music aspect of it and the uniqueness, and because I'm really into that like ambient like relaxation and I love talking to other musicians too. So oh my God, this is so cool.
we've talked before about both being bassists.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Can leave that for a part two.
yeah, we can leave that for a part two. That's fine. Because yeah, I don't have music in here at all. But yeah, J-Rob, he does live looping, so it's super interesting. I'll probably link him since we're talking about him. Anybody we talk about, there's going to be a link to because that's
Perfect.
how that's how the ASMR community has been to me. I've seen them be that way to you. So like, I just want to reciprocate as much as possible.
For sure, for sure.
So I guess my next question, just kind of bouncing off the Mortal Kombat. When are we fighting in Mortal Kombat?
Hopefully soon. It's just
Uh,
I'm so not used to anybody having it on PC because I don't have consoles anymore.
yeah, same.
And like so I just usually just play by myself and I forget that like sometimes people actually do have it on PC. So we're gonna have to fight soon.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
the issue though is that because everyone knows me as like the Mortal Kombat person, I
Mhm.
feel like there's a high expectation for me to be amazing. And I don't play as often as I used to. So like yeah, back in the day I used to be amazing. But like I may not be as amazing anymore. So I feel a little bit of pressure sometimes.
I mean, it's fine because I've played a lot of 2D fighting games, but like they're not like NetherRealm games. Like even like Injustice, also like the way NetherRealm makes their games are like not like a normal 2D fighter. So like when I popped in and started doing the tutorial, I was like, oh god, this is this is not what I was expecting. Even though I used to play MK9 like religiously. Uh,
Nine is where I is when I became like really, actually, no, my 3-pack with Armageddon is when I got really into it. But when 9 came out, I played daily, like daily.
Oh,
And
same.
also because I was really into God of War. So since I had it on
Mm.
PlayStation and Kratos was on there, I was like, this is beautiful. This is perfection. What else could you ask for?
Yeah, I had it for Xbox, so I'm not sure who we had, but I just remember I was just Scorpion pretty much all the time, and then Cyrax once I kind of got into that. Yeah, not knowing that MK9 Cyrax is the reason probably why he hasn't been in a game. Because he was apparently like super broken and good, and I just did not know how to use him. So yeah, that's funny, but I'll never see my boy again.
Oh,
He's in the game for anybody who knows or not. He's in MK11. He's just not a playable character, which like breaks my heart.
fall in love with characters and then they don't come in the next one. You're like, where are they?
Mm.
Where'd they go? How do I get them? Is it gonna be the next DLC?
It's like, no, I have to wait for the next game probably, but I don't think they want to put him in 10 or 11. I don't know if he's in 10 actually, but he's not in 11.
I can't remember about 10 because I didn't play that one as much as I've played 9 and 11. I
No.
don't know why, but it's not like I didn't like it as much, but one thing I noticed that the fatalities were all to the head. Like not all of them, but most of them were to the head. I obviously clearly like am not really bothered by gruesome video games because that's kind of all Mortal Kombat. I think it's so creative how they do their fatalities and it's fictional, so like it doesn't bother me now.
Mm.
But I don't know if it's because I'm empathetic, but it's just like all of the fatalities were to the head. I
Mm.
noticed in 10, and I don't know why that bothered me. But I was like, can we stop like going straight for the brain? Like my head hurts watching this.
Yeah, I'm sure after a while, yeah. I didn't play 10 at all. I actually didn't play a second of it, but that's unfortunate to hear because yeah, they've gotten really creative with their stuff.
Well, it was very brutal and like it even created controversy. And then Edmonds kind of like, well, we're gonna keep pushing the limits. What do you expect? And I
Yeah.
totally, I'm on board with that. But I think 11 was so much better and so much more diverse that it was like, okay, like at least not everything is to the head this time. It's like we're getting really, really creative still. We're still bringing new elements and still pushing limits and making it interesting. Like 11 to me, I think is like far better than 10 and 9 I'm always gonna love too. So I just didn't give 10 as much attention as I did 9 and 11.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to practice me some 11 cuz playing it now I'm like it doesn't matter. You're still going to be better than I am at this point. So I was like maybe my fighting game fundamentals will like have me at a maybe an even ground. So
You never know. You never know. Some things translate well in fighting games, and like the
it's
cool thing
true.
is with fighting games, it's like you can even if you don't like know combos and stuff like that, you can pick it up. I could play with anybody, and if they want a button mash and figure it out that way, so be it.
Mhm. Mhm. I mean, see, I could talk just generally fighting games forever, so I don't want to get too deep into it because we will go off
Okay.
the rails. Listen, any other time, and 100% I'm in.
Okay.
But yeah, because that's honestly, I mean, just generally shout out the FGC, the fighting game community, because just like ASMR, they like people bring each other up like so much in that community. It's crazy.
That's cool.
Yeah, it really is. Like if you can pick up a controller, even if you can't, there are some people who can't physically pick up a controller and still play fighting games. Like it's insane.
Oh,
But there's really no great segue back. So I'm just gonna say, after going back through and watching and listening to a couple videos that you've posted to YouTube, which I believe there's 3 plus the short, I recognize a lot of names that you thank for like being with you on stream and things like that. Some we still have around, some not. But I realize, especially as a new streamer myself, it has to be hard to reward like everyone for being a part of the stream, because whether you're a VIP or a sub or a mod or just like a positive regular, that every member of the community means like so much, like not even within like
mhm.
one stream, just within the ASMR community. And there's folks that like I personally miss and just don't see anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And a particular one from my community that I personally miss from when I was streaming fighting games. And in this vein, have you like considered bringing back something like the shout out board or something like it for the community members that maybe don't get a spotlight that you would like to showcase?
Yeah, so as I've grown, I feel like the shout out board gets harder because how do you measure that, you know?
Mm,
I do still have the shout out board. The one of the main reasons I don't use it is honestly because lack of plugs. Like I
gotcha.
can
Yeah, like
I
power.
don't really have a space for it at the moment. And clearly I have so many things plugged in and I don't want to overdo it on my PC because it would have to be close to my PC, like on that shelving area.
Right.
And it's like it's definitely something that I can do, but I'm also wondering if like because I could put batteries in it. It's also possibly battery operated, but it's one of those things that like it's gonna take a lot of battery, and I'm gonna have to buy a lot of batteries like constantly. Like you know how I used to have my alien or spaceship, not spaceship, sorry, it was Saturn, my alien and my Saturn
Yes, yes,
LEDs. I don't use them as much anymore because one, they're USB operated and have to be out of my PC. And I'm trying to not fry my USB ports until I can, you know, extend that because
for
I was
sure.
using an
Yeah,
adapter and I think that caused some technical issues when I was overusing and overplugging things in. But they were also battery operated, and I was like, great, this is awesome. But when I was using batteries for them, they would fade quickly, and it made me mad because I was like, it's not as bright anymore. Like it doesn't make me very happy because it's not bright. So
yeah, yeah,
I'm afraid that you know if I use batteries in the shout out board or something, then it will fade quickly if I don't use the USB and I think it I have to double check, but I don't remember if it even has a USB option or if it's only a plug. But on this side of the room, I have because that's the concrete side of the room, I have no plugs. And
gotcha.
I'd have to figure that out because when I had the shout out board, things were set up differently. Trust me, I've thought about bringing it back, and if I can make a way to bring it back, then that'd be great. But I also don't know if at this point, if aesthetically that would be the best choice, or if maybe I could figure out a different way to like highlight the appreciation that I have for everyone that's gone above and beyond, you know? So I guess honestly it's probably just something that I got lazy with, haven't figured out a way, but it's probably something that I should emphasize or do. Like if not the shout out board, then have a different way of acknowledging my appreciation.
Yeah, it's just like a piece that was like, I guess, like nostalgic for me of like your earlier streams, even
Yeah.
like somewhat more recent. But I totally understand the like the concrete side because that's kind of like similar setup to me too. We had to run, and this is only because my brother's an electrician. We had to run a cable or wire from
Hmm.
the box all the way over like the because I record in a basement, so we went across like the top. I'm not even gonna call it a ceiling. We went over the top and just like drilled through and then down in order for me to even have this space. So like I
That's
understand.
commitment.
Yeah. I was like, I will buy the wire. Can you do this? And he was like, yeah, I mean, I can. I was like, then we're doing it. Yeah, I helped him do that because I used to be an apprentice electrician as well. So we were like, let's just do it. Yeah, sure. And it's not hard, but it's just time consuming. I get the not having enough power. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, it was just something I was wondering about because, like I said, it was just like a nostalgic part of the stream. And,
Yeah.
but like you said, like the bigger you get too, it's harder to be like, how do you gauge who really like gets that? It's like, sure, you could say like the amount of subs, but like sometimes people don't have like the money for it. And sometimes people are just really positive members of the community that just like
I
hang out and they're
know.
just really good for, just being around.
I know. So it was very obvious at the beginning, you know, and the community was small enough to take turns and stuff,
Mm,
which is a good problem. Now there's so many people that I want to highlight that I don't want to exclude anyone. I feel like maybe by doing it, it may cause more problems than it would, shouting out because if weeks go by and I don't highlight someone that needs to be highlighted, I don't want them to get discouraged or think that I don't appreciate them. So that's something I think about. I think with you bringing that up, I think it would be a good thing to bring back maybe at least for events. When I do like my week-long events and stuff like that, like because that was like a big part of my early streams. It'd be nice to be able to bring it back sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that's a cool idea. Like even if it's not like all the time, because I feel like that's also
Mhm.
maybe exhausting for you too. Of well, now who do I pick? Do I do it every week? Do I do it every day? It's like it's hard.
Remember when I used to change it? I think I changed it every Monday, and I was always scrambling because I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot to change the shout out board, and it's so hard to find those letters. I have this box, and there's only like two of each letter, so then I have to get creative if
Oh,
there's more. Yes, and I have to get creative if there's more, and like you can't always spell it correctly. Sometimes space is an issue, and like I could never find the letter I needed when I was doing it. So I was always way later on the days that I had to change the shout out board.
right. So like peanut butter
It's
pumpkin
stressful.
party is never gonna get a shout out.
I think I had it on there before. I can't remember. But I
Probably.
but I think it took a lot of creativity to figure out how to put that on
Yeah. He pops into my stream sometimes. He's funny, man. He comes in and just like memes on me and then leaves. It's funny.
there.
Hey guys, so this is my first break in the middle of an episode, which is awesome. I'm gonna make it real quick. I just wanted to shout out the people that are in the description box here. They've all been directly involved with me one way or the other, except for J Rob the human. But he is extremely nice. He's a very good guy, and he's got a super cool thing going. But everybody down there is super cool. If you're interested in Jaitana so far, please go look in the description box. There's going to be a bunch of things down there. There's also going to be a link to my stream as well. But yeah, I'm going to let you guys get back to it. We just wanted to break it up here a little bit. So thank you. I did also just want to re-warn people that this second part here is going to have some like echoey sounds. I did my best to remove them, but they are going to pop up every now and again. I think the first one comes up pretty quick, so they shouldn't be too bad. I think there's like one or two I really wanted out, but it happens. We're going to try our best next time. Yeah, thanks guys again. So obviously here to me and your Discord server, you're currently having tech issues, but once those are squared away, what are your future plans for content creation?
Yeah, so I'm trying to use this time at the moment to kind of build on other platforms and other content because I have a ton of recorded videos already that I wanted to use for YouTube. I just recently started recording specifically like for YouTube and for Reels and things like that, so that's kind of new. But I do have a lot of content that I've saved that I just kind of need to edit, so I'm trying to familiarize myself a little bit more with Premiere Pro and use my Adobe resources to kind of use content I've used before, but also, get feedback from the community and get inspired to create new content. So, unfortunately, with my camera and then now my mic too, that's a new one.
Literally between our interviews, the first part and the second part, this has been a new issue.
Yep. So I was supposed to stream for the first time, I think what was it, Sunday? And then I didn't realize that I needed OBS for the new app that I was using for my phone. I actually got a new phone because I was like, I want my quality to be better if I have to use my phone in the meantime, right? So, and then I bought an app. I didn't realize it was OBS only, did not work for Streamlabs. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. I probably should have tested it ahead of time, but I didn't, last minute, whatever. And I was like, that's fine because I've been wanting to switch over anyway. So I spent a few days switching over, and the last little test was the mic. And I don't know, I don't know what in the world has happened between the last time I streamed and now, but now my mic is not working. So I have to figure out where the source of that is coming from. So that's fun. But it kind of, anyway, I say all that to say that it kind of gives me an opportunity to get a little bit more creative with some of my content in the meantime because I don't want, the Jaitana realm to be dead. I want things to be continuing to go, and I have been wanting to explore, like expanding my platforms on both YouTube, Instagram, and possibly TikTok too. So I do plan on using, in the meantime, my phone for whatever I can. And, I may not have like a whole mic situation for that, but I'm, hoping to do more like kind of soft spoken with the small mic that I had, like my last reel that I just uploaded, and something with a little bit more like specific style that I can do easily, like within like maybe about 30 seconds or so to continue to create content for everyone until I can get back to streaming, which hopefully won't be much longer than, a week or so, but we'll see.
Which, since you brought up like the reel and the short, we both kind of found out at the same time that YouTube shorts are only 60 seconds and the reel is actually longer. So if you've only seen the short, there's actually more to it.
Yes, I made it with like it was over a minute long when I made it, and I think I was only looking at like Instagram and TikTok regulations when I first created it and edited it. So then I was like, oh, okay, let me just put it on YouTube Shorts, and I didn't realize that YouTube Shorts were a lot shorter. I was like, oh, all right, I guess I'll chop this up a little bit.
Yeah, I had no idea. I've never uploaded a short, so I wasn't aware either. So when you said that, I was like, oh, did not know myself. So
Yep.
so let's see. So we want to keep that air of mystery that you have to a maximum here. So I'm gonna say you've had a friend on a stream that I'm aware of do ASMR with you. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm always curious to kind of hear what that just kind of makes me think like what friends and family at large kind of think of streamers and creators doing ASMR. Do you have any interesting like reactions or anything that stand out to you from those that are close to you and have seen your content?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I have quite a few friends that are very supportive. For those of you that don't know, I keep this part of my life private to my life as well. So really only my closest friends and maybe a couple of friends that I've thought about like doing business with or like just trying to help out that I trust or, or some close family even know about me streaming. And even then, if people do know that I stream, like I try not to talk about the details too much unless they're like really like some of my closer friends. So when I tell them, it's ASMR, like my friends, I feel like have had very positive experiences, and a lot of them like either already listened to ASMR and they're like, oh,
Oh,
I follow
okay.
this person. And I didn't know. I actually learned. I was like, one of my friends is into like, different types of like food and eating ASMR and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, like that's very different content. So like that's cool that I didn't know that, and they opened that conversation up. And then I have a friend that was like, apparently she listens to it on TikTok. And I'm like, it opened up these conversations that I'm like, well, I didn't really know that one, that you guys even knew what it was, and two, that like, it had a really positive response. So I did get the opportunity to kind of like talk to people more about it too if they didn't know much about it. A lot of them have popped into my stream and they all know the rules of like, not saying that they're my friend and stuff like that. You guys have probably seen like a hello chat or something from one of my friends and you would never know who it is. Or sometimes they'll just lurk if they do watch, but for the majority, I don't usually have friends or family watching. I do have a cousin that picks on me and his immediate reaction. So he will always, bag on me no matter what I do. That's just our relationship. But as soon as I told him, he immediately was like, "Oh, you do like the sexual whispering," and he started laughing at me instantly. And I was like, no, like it's not like that at all. So I had to educate him quickly on that.
Hmm.
He's gonna pick on me no matter what. So like I think there's mostly positive interactions about it, especially if I have the opportunity to like tell people, and explain it a little bit. But there are some people that have their own ideas of what they've seen, and they were like, that's really weird and stuff like that. But mostly, like, other than my cousin, like, I've had pretty positive responses. Like, I think if people don't know, I know my mom thought it was weird, but I had to explain it to her, and like she's more open to it and stuff like that now. And like, it's just kind of become, a big part of what I do, so people know that I stream and everything. And by now, since I've been doing it for about 2 years, like, I've had these conversations multiple times with the people that I'm closest with in my life. So it's like, I don't really have issues like that. Like, I'm not constantly picked on, and it's easier that I keep that part of my life private because I don't have to worry about, what my coworkers think or anything like that. So, because none of them know, none of them have any idea.
Right. As soon as you said coworkers, I didn't have any of this written down, but I do remember you saying that one of your coworkers said you had like a really, really soothing voice or something, and and I was just like, that literally happened to me too, like not that long ago. It was very funny because I don't tell coworkers or anything. I do think it's funny that I've had some people in my life where not anybody who's close to me, but I've had people say like, "Oh, ASMR is like the sexualized thing," and I've had some pretty bad knee-jerk reaction to that.
Mm.
But over time it has definitely been like I've learned how to kind of like because I felt like it's like taking the ASMR category down. Which
Mm-hmm.
I have a video on this. I have a podcast episode on this. So if anybody wants to really know my like thoughts on it, like it's out there. But it's just interesting to me to hear like that you've had like generally like good and positive and like interactions with it, because I feel like more than not I've just kind of had to explain what I do. It's not
Yeah.
like it's not
To
like
my
a
family, it's
negative or
been
anything.
more of an explanation
Hmm.
because they just didn't know what the word meant. The
Right.
only person that even knew was my cousin.
Hmm.
But to my friends, it's mostly been positive. But mostly, I think people don't. I don't know. I think people know my character and know like how I would go about certain things anyway. So I don't think people are too concerned that do know me as it is.
Yeah, and I think anybody who joins your stream, just even for like one stream, it's like, okay, got it. It's not if you not to say like if you've seen one stream you've seen them all, because that's not true, but like as far as like the mood and like the how
I
you
yeah,
you know
I set the tone
yes.
quickly, I think,
Hmm.
yeah, of what to expect, and it filters out people that are looking for something else. So
Yes.
it's totally fine with me because it keeps my community the way I want it.
Hmm.
You like my content, stick around. If you don't, that's cool. There's tons of other streamers out there.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the other thing too, is like there's no down talking about anybody else. It's like, no, they do their thing, I do my thing,
Hmm.
and
Exactly.
that's it. That's the end of it.
Exactly.
So kind of to jump on that. So this is this is the only part that I've written like probably a paragraph on. So I might just go for a little bit here, but that's fine. It's just funny because we had a conversation right before this interview about kind of something similar here. But going back to some of my earlier memories of your streams, I remember the exact moment that I liked the vibe of how you are, like as a person, and how your chat was moderated, like kind of all at once, like in one moment. Because there was a person in chat asking about, I don't know if you remember this, a person in chat asking about how they should go about a first date situation. I remember them seeming like they were seemingly genuinely like asking for advice. You gave like very wholesome answer of like, be yourself, be respectful, listening goes a long way, like that kind of type of thing. And then they said something very disrespectful, pretty vulgar. Mod jumped on
I do
them.
remember.
Yeah. And I remember the mods like just jumped on them as you were like visibly upset.
Yeah, I
And
poured my heart and soul into that answer.
yeah, you did.
Like, wow, I've been trolled.
Mm-hmm. Like pretty hard too. Like it wasn't like I made it seem like pretty quick, but like this like took time. It wasn't it wasn't just a, hey, could I have dating advice? It's like, yeah, be a good guy. No, that's not. It was a lot longer than that. The question was like specific.
Hmm.
I remember in that moment feeling the need to type in chat, and I remember saying that it was a sweet and wholesome response and that you were a good person. And this was the first time I felt like a member of chat, like anywhere.
Oh, wow. Well, it's
on
nice. It's
Twitch.
nice to think that something good came out of it because when you have those moments in the stream, you're kind of like, well, dang, this is the sucky part of being a streamer, you know?
Yeah, but you never know like what good comes of that because you're showing like
Wow,
yourself. You know what I mean?
that's a cool
So
perspective.
yeah, so I was like, if she remembers this, I hope that I can turn this into a positive because it was for me.
Well, trust me, I remember many times if I get really embarrassed about something, I'm gonna remember it for years.
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
But
Same.
even though live streaming in general, I'm always embarrassing myself, so there's certain things I'm going to forget now because I've just
Hmm.
had to get past it. But that was definitely one thing that as soon as you brought it up, I was like, oh my gosh, I do remember that. That
Hmm.
one hurt.
Yeah, because I remember that's the only time I've seen you like. I mean, defeated is like the word. Like I don't remember. I can't remember any other time where you've just like sank like that. And I was like, because after that I started typing and like frequently tried to make chat more positive. After that, I noticed a response from like actually everyone from that point forward. Like people started saying hi to me and like recognizing when I was there. I didn't think I made an impact at all, but apparently I did.
For sure.
And later on, I eventually became VIP and then now mod. But I don't remember exactly when this all happened, but I remember saving channel points for becoming VIP. And then I just looked one day and I was like, now what do I do with all these points? So now I'm just a
Wait, but
point spending machine.
you know that I don't think I have that option for becoming VIP.
No, I think maybe at the time. I don't
Maybe
know.
at the very beginning.
Because this was like early, I think.
Okay, yeah, and then I think I did away with that because I don't think anybody's ever redeemed that because in my
Hmm.
community, if I give a VIP out, it's me manually giving that to someone. Like you can only earn it by me wanting to give that to you, pretty much. So,
Yeah, and like all this to say, like that's pretty much what I want to know is like what is your criteria? I get do you have criteria for VIP or is it like because I didn't feel like a prominent member at the time, and that's not a you problem. That's a me not picking up on cues, I guess.
yeah, so I think it's a couple things now because honestly how it started is, I was like, wow, like these people are supporting and I wanted to give back in a way because at the beginning, especially when people are doing gift subs and they're constantly in chat, and they're loyal, I'm like, or if they've donated a lot and stuff like that, because of the kind of community that I have, most of my supporters, like if not all of them, are extremely awesome, respectful people that are really great to have anyway. So it's never been an issue. It's like if you've supported, like that was my way of giving back. And when I was smaller, it didn't take long to get there because the people, like you that were there at the almost, nearly very beginning, like you helped me build, like you're there, like, a lot and you were communicating and like you helped. So now it's definitely like at first it was more after so many gift subs and after, like seeing how long somebody's with me and like how loyal they are, I'll give VIP. But now because I kind of continued that criteria as I was growing, I've actually had to revoke a few VIPs
Hmm.
because now it's way more deep than that, and it's not just monetary either. Of course, if somebody is able to support and like they may not chat that much, like I want them to know they're a valued member because like without their help, like I wouldn't be able to keep doing this. But I've had a couple people that have not really had amazing interactions in chats or maybe with other streamers that I found out about and stuff like that, and that have been problematic in one way or another. And I believe in giving people multiple chances, so that's not to say that like I would ban them, but like I think if you're going to
Hmm.
be a VIP in my community, I want you, whether you chat much or you're a lurker or you're like bringing kindness and positivity like you make the community better, and you're a really important part of chat. So it's like some of the VIPs are just obvious like that, but that's things that I look for because like if you see someone with a VIP badge and they're like not behaving well, and especially with moderator too, like same with mods too, that's the setting the tone for your community. Like if somebody's coming to community for the first time, and that's why I've unfortunately had to revoke it, I guess twice now. I try not to do stuff like that, but you talk to people first and see what happens, unless it's like something that like really, really bad that happened, and it's like, okay, yeah, then you have to do that like immediately. But, it's really a balance of support and the contribution, loyalty, and kindness to the chat and how they interact with everybody.
Well, okay, so first of all, thank you for the kind words. I was not fishing for that whatsoever. Yeah, because I think mods are kind of, it's a little more obvious how like you become a mod maybe, and maybe that's like a question or like something we could dig into as well. But I think the VIP is a very interesting role because you don't necessarily get anything special for it. You just kind of get like it's just kind of like a golden star sticker.
I think, yeah, but I think you do have like an increase of like you get channel points faster.
Oh,
I think
okay, okay.
that is a thing. I'm pretty sure. Like you can fact check me on it later,
Mhm.
but I'm like 90% sure that that's a thing. Like it does come with some kind of benefit like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I haven't looked to see like what the exact benefits are, but as far as like I've perceived it, right? Like whenever I've seen it in somebody else's chat, I'm like, they usually just kind of reflect the streamer.
Hmm.
The other VIPs, like generally speaking, of course, there's some that don't, but yeah, it was just always interesting to me. It's like, how do you give VIP like, because everybody seems to have a different criteria, so I just kind of wanted to see what your perspective on it was.
Yeah, the way mine started is definitely not the way that it currently is, and it's a lot harder to get now that I've
Mhm.
grown, but it's also made it things more clear for me, like who I want to give VIP and how I want my community to be.
I imagine there's a progression. I would probably say that most streamers are in that boat as well. You know, they've probably had to take it
Hmm.
away, give it to others. It's evolved over time, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's see. So we're a little past this at this point, but your Twitch account, and this is just from getting it from Sully Gnome, was created February 2nd, 2021. So happy belated Twitch birthday.
Thank
um,
you, thank you.
your first stream was actually that night technically, or the next morning of February 3rd at 2:30 a.m., which is coincidentally and unknowingly exactly when I was writing this. On this year, February 3rd at 2:30 a.m.
That's so funny.
So at that moment in time, I just wrote happy 2-year anniversary because that was funny. So in 2 years of streaming, is there anything you've learned like overall from like start to finish? Any advice for like new streamers? I'm just asking for a friend.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely a big question. I mean, what everyone would say I think is consistency is huge because I see a huge difference of when I'm consistent and when I'm not.
Mm.
Obviously, anybody that's been with me for a long time has known that I've gone through a lot of crazy life stuff in between time. But I also think that just you have to figure out what you want out of it because if I were to want this to be my number one career, then I think my answer would be different to people that are first streaming than, are you looking to, like, what's your goal? Like, are you looking to build, like, the community you want? Are you looking to build quickly? Are you looking to really enjoy it? Because I've learned that you have to, it can be a little bit hard to balance because there's been times where I've been so sucked into the Twitch world that, like, I felt like I was neglecting my reality at the same time. So I've had to learn to balance because when I first started, I was like all in all the time. Then I had a lot of crazy personal stuff happen. Then I jumped back in and then had so many like health problems, all that other stuff, and now tech problems, unfortunately. So I feel that I've constantly been kind of jumping in and like something happens, but I'm just kind of learning balance. So I think balance is really important. If you go too hard and for too long and you're not paying attention to what you really want out of it and like you're not enjoying it and you end up hitting a burnout, like you could get
Mm.
sick. You could end up like not focusing on other things in your life that are important too. But the one biggest thing that I think that I have learned that I think I've done well is cultivating an amazing community, which I think is by chance that I just happen to have some super awesome people in the community. But because I didn't know what I was doing at the beginning, I had a unique way to learn from my community. And I'd say like listen to feedback from the people that you are catching their attention. Of course, cater to times and stuff like that, you know, times and days of your community, but also like if it doesn't work for you, then it's not going to be a sustainable model for you to continue. So like you have to make sure that when you do something or you set something or if you pivot and you have to make changes, make sure that it's going to work for your life and try to stick to it. But most importantly, I think is cultivate the community that you want and be wary of how you want to set the tone, you know, like the way that you have moderation rules, you know, the way that you act on stream and the way that you allow others to act on stream. That's going to completely set the tone and I'm just thankful that I was able to learn from a lot of feedback from my community, from my own community. And as I built, you know, I was able to kind of just learn like what was working and what was not based on everybody else's kindness and feedback. And I just say, like, pay attention to those things. Pay attention to the people that are loyal to you and that are supportive. If they're the kind of people that you want in your community. I'm not saying that like, you know, if it's totally different than people that are like leveraging donations and money to try to manipulate you to be a certain way that you don't want to be. You have to figure out exactly what kind of streamer you want to be. You have to attract those people and reward those people that emulate those behaviors and create the community that you want. And then like Twitch is big enough, you know, other platforms as well if you're streaming. Your people are going to be out there. Like you just have to be yourself and create your community and then like if it's authentic and it's you, like it will build from there. Like you just listen to your people and they'll help you grow. So that's the one thing that I feel like even though I may have missed the mark on some other things, like I feel like that's the one thing that I have a lot of joy in with is how I've built my community and like how we interact and everything. I guess I don't know. It was a little all over the place, but that's my advice.
No, I think it's all good. Like even in my short time of when it's been like a month and like a week, maybe a little bit longer than that now at this point. I mean, consistency's been huge. Like consistency is also hard, but
Oh yeah, for
consistency
sure.
is huge. I think you've probably said that to me before too. And like I've been doing it pretty much every day. I've given myself one day off a week from streaming because I was like, I need to breathe at some point. But um,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, because I do burn out easy, but I've been having such a good time. I'm like, if I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed, just put it in the schedule,
Oh yeah,
you
for
know?
sure.
Just like because I think you said communication of like the people in chat. I think it's also extremely important to have communication on your end too, which I do think you do an awesome job at. You update people, you have channels for it. And yeah, I couldn't agree more, but obviously you have more experience than I do, but I do appreciate the tips. I think they're all good, especially the community aspect. Like one thing I've learned was to slowly come out of your comfort zone, try little things like every stream. And if you don't
Hmm.
like it, stop. Literally just don't do it. It's fine.
That's a really good thing to bring up because like me just streaming in general was way out of my comfort zone and people have
Oh,
you know, like
same.
which I've privated a few of my videos. It's almost like cringy for me to watch from YouTube that were like at the very beginning and I have some of them saved still. But
The vault.
yes, the secret vault. Yeah, so it is funny, but I remember like having people tell me like, you know, I watched like a really old video and like you've changed a lot, like you're a lot more comfortable. And
Mm.
it's true, like it's cool to be able to get more comfortable on stream and like you have to like I like your advice of doing little things here and there to break out of your comfort zone because I was so nervous. My voice was so shaky and a lot of my triggers were just based on experiments and I trust my chat to be like, nah bro, like that one's not working, you know? Or they're like, oh my God, like this is impeccable.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty sure pick scratching was one of the many that were born out of let's try this.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I don't know if I remember the exact moment, but I do remember when I heard it first. I was like, "Where did this come from?" Just being like, it was just there one day, and I was like, this is good. Why didn't we do this before?" It's like literally we didn't know about it. Like,
Invented it.
It
Like,
was.
what can I do with this guitar pick in front of me?
Mm-hmm. And we said before, like you were plugging in your bass to the audio interface, and we are like, are we gonna get a bass stream?
I eventually do want to do bass streams, like legit, legit. I love music so much,
Mm-hmm.
but unfortunately, it's taken a back seat to a lot of other things in my life. But I just recently like got a lot of subscriptions for things like, Ultimate Guitar Tabs Pro and things like other things that are gonna help me. And I had like a lot of gifts to enhance my bass for Christmas because
Mm-hmm.
that's something I want to focus on this year. So as I start to feel more confident being back on it again, because I used to be very consistent with it, but after you kind of aren't consistent with it anymore, you get like a little bit insecure with it,
Oh, for sure.
with your instrument and everything. And that's kind of how I feel. And I'm like, I really want to be secure because once I start streaming with bass, people are gonna ask me like to do things and like I think that's something that I'm gonna have to probably start with a YouTube video and just do what I'm comfortable doing first. But eventually, I would love to get to the point where I can stream and I can be like, oh, do you guys want to hear, like something cool like this? And then just like make it like a whole like ambiance ASMR type thing too. I would love to get to that point, but I want to first get to a point where I'm more comfortable being back on my base again. And right now, I feel way too insecure on my base to be there, but it is a goal. It for sure is a goal, and I think it's something that everybody would enjoy too. It's on the list, I promise.
That's fun because that wasn't even like a planned question, but because I'm in a similar boat. I just picked up my bass for the first time, and I can't even tell you how
Don't
many
don't even say it.
years.
Don't even say it. It's just
Um,
gonna be sad to say it. I don't think I
it's
can say mine either.
yeah, it's sad, man. And but I picked it up and started going, and I was just like, oh wait, because I finger pick, so I'm like, wait, how do? Oh no. And then I just like got back into it. I was like, got it. Yeah, like the pick makes a cool sound, and I think like anybody who is listening to this who does play bass with a pick, I have a friend who does as well, and like I get it. It just doesn't feel as satisfying to me. It's more the feel.
It is the feel. There are some songs that like literally I would not have been able to play unless it was a pick. Like I played in
Yes.
band settings where they're like, "All right, we're gonna have a talk. It's time for you to get the pick out. That's the only way you're gonna be able to play this one." And I'm like, kicking and screaming, and I'm like, "Are you sure there's no other way?"
Do you remember this? Actually, I remember you talking about this. It's just that was wild. You just like pulled something out of the back of my brain. But yeah.
So funny. Yeah, but so I don't enjoy the pick either. Like I literally
Hmm.
file my nails down for a specific sound using my fingers when I play
Hmm.
bass. Like I barely have any nails whenever I do consistently play bass. If I have to have a pick, the felt tip is definitely the only way to go for the
Hmm.
bass because it's like that's
Agree.
going to be the closest thing that you're going to get because that little like like
Hmm.
it's not doing it for me. Bothers me.
A friend of mine gave me one, and I don't know why I just never got one. But a friend of mine gave me one to like just to use when I was over his place. He was like, just try this out for the pick, and I was like, all right, fine. And I tried it, and I was like, yeah, this works. I could do this.
Yeah, it's like this is acceptable
Yeah,
if
yeah.
necessary.
Yes, it works. I can do this. I would still prefer to use my fingers, but this works.
Absolutely.
That's funny. Yeah, because I mean, this wasn't my next question, but we could. I'm just gonna go into this one. So you said you were in like band settings. Did you ever play like? Did you ever perform like on stage, or maybe like even like a theater kid? Because you now perform on a virtual stage in front of sometimes hundreds of people at a time. So I'm curious to know what your history is from like a performance perspective.
So I have played in band settings, and that's all I'll say for the mystery perspective of it.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
And unrelated, I was a theater kid, and I
Interesting.
enjoyed performing. But I have played in band settings on a stage, not super large, but
Hmm.
to where enough people are watching.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can't really think too much about it. And I was always someone that, even though I considered myself introverted, like I was always like someone that enjoyed performing. Like I danced a lot of my life, and I was in theater And my dance experience crossed over into theater with like musicals and stuff. But I just as much enjoyed the background stuff because I did, I worked on costumes too. I was always into like entertainment, performance, and theatrical things. Anything creative, and as much as it makes me nervous, I love the whole adrenaline of performing as well. So I guess I never made that connection. I was like, I don't know. I think it's because when I performed before, I was never an improv person. Like that freaked me out so much. I'm like, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna be on stage, I'm gonna know my lines, I'm gonna know my choreography, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to know exactly what I'm doing.
I'm going in prepared.
Oh yeah. And streaming is not like that at all.
No.
You have no idea. Like things are gonna be thrown at you and you just gotta roll with it.
You can have a plan, but it doesn't always turn out that way.
Oh, exactly. And honestly, like I've kind of embraced it. Like at first that freaked me out. I was like, what if I do something embarrassing? And now it's like, it's just me being me. And I think that's the most fulfilling part of streaming is like, oh, like this is the raw version of my personality, mistakes and all, and like people still want to stick around, like people enjoy my company, like that's bizarre. Like it's really fulfilling, you know?
It is. I agree. I feel that. I've felt that already. Yeah. When I wrote that, I was like, I was just like, it's a little bit of a Hail Mary, but I've been around enough theater kids. I was like, she was probably a theater kid.
You picked up on that. I was absolutely.
Yeah, that's just funny to me because I was like, I could see it either way, but I was like, if I had to put money, I'm like, I'm gonna say theater kid.
Yeah, you won that bet.
So that kind of gets us into even the fashion aspect because you said I know you've had an interest in it and you were doing like costumes and stuff, but I don't know how far you've gotten. I don't know how much you've talked about it on stream.
I don't talk too much about it on stream because of my other business endeavors.
Okay,
Everything more of a mystery, but I have revealed that that's what I went to college for,
gotcha.
was for fashion design. And I've had quite a bit of like work history in the fashion field and like fashion retail and stuff like that. I have revealed all of that on stream, and I have talked to people about me having other business endeavors that are like anything else that I work on that's not streaming and like Twitch and YouTube and whatever, outside of the Jaitana realm is fashion related. So that is my other, like, I guess you could say, hustle and career, my aspirations.
yeah, your other pursuit. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's hard to like dig and find everything about especially ASMR creators while like watching streams and stuff and to like write stuff
Hmm.
down because half the time you're asleep, so it makes my job really hard. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting because you have a lot of similar to me where you have a lot of things you're interested in and that you do that people may not necessarily know about just by even popping on the stream. And I
Oh,
think a
yeah,
lot of
for
people are like
sure.
that, but like there's just something about like having a million like hobbies and interests that's just like you can always dip into something real quick and just be like, this is really fun for me, I'm gonna go do that, and then pop back out and go to something else.
Yeah. I think it's things you may not have known.
Yes, for sure.
Some people, know that I make my own emotes and stuff like that.
Yes.
The graphic design part of it is always a part of my fashion experience that I enjoy a lot. Like, I love computer graphics that I learned in school, and that was part of it that I was able to use for Twitch. So it's like, I'm not really into fashion in the sense of like knowing all the best labels and stuff like that. It's more of an art form. So I love the art of fashion. Like, I love the like just art in general. So naturally, graphic design is really fun for me. And I think it's kind of like that place where it's like, oh my gosh, like my experience and my creative endeavors outside of this are like kind of colliding into the Twitch world, which is really cool and fun. So when people like actually genuinely like the emotes that I make, I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah, I mean, they're good. I wish I had any kind of design background because when I got into it, I was like, emotes. That's right. And then that's where my thoughts start and stop because I'm like, well, I have zero experience in this whatsoever. So yeah, it's interesting. Also, just so to let people know, the Jaitana realm, when that's brought up, is the Discord, of course. So we'll have links everywhere for that. As far as like YouTube, Twitch, I'll probably try to put everything in like one space for anybody we bring up, and both of ourselves included. And speaking about...
Appreciate it. Yeah, because it's hard to say, before I would have just been like, oh, like just Twitch, but like trying to expand more than just Twitch. So
Yeah, for sure.
it's all the Jaitana realm, I guess, which works out because that's the Discord name.
Yeah, and everything's in there. So it's like just really nice to be like, yes, Twitch is the biggest thing for content creation for, I mean, honestly, both of us. But also the Discord is just a good hub. It's just a good
that's
spot.
the central point. So it's like if you like my content and you're in the Discord, like you're gonna get all of the updates the quickest there. I try to use my Instagram as much as possible, but everything is linked to Discord, probably a little bit more so than Instagram. But those are the two that I try to keep as up to date with links and stuff as possible. But Discord is definitely most active for sure.
Yeah, the Discords are great for all that stuff. Speaking of your Instagram, so I actually may not use that. We'll see. Depends how you feel about this. There's one video that exists out on the internet. And again, I won't say where to find this unless you're okay with it. That has your normal speaking voice. I accidentally heard it expecting a normal ASMR video. And if nobody out there listening has, hearing someone that you've been listening to for 2 years speak in a pretty low, like very low volume, super soft whisper 100% of the time, and then immediately just like on a dime switch to this is just how they speak, for me was a mix of like, I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
I think it took you a few minutes to comprehend when we first hopped on for the interview. You're just, hold on, I need to take this in.
So I played it up like a little bit, but like only because I was like, well, I was also nervous. I am still nervous about talking and going back and forth because we've pretty much only talked from you as a talking perspective and then from me as a chatter, right? So going to speak in that.
I never thought of that. To me, it's like, oh my gosh, like finally I connect a voice and stuff like that, but I never thought of the nervousness or whatever on the other end because you guys are so used to just typing. Because to me, it's like just, chatting with everybody is just normal. So it's like, oh, hey, what's up,
For sure. And then from my perspective, right? Because like for you, like I could see that, right?
Yeah.
But then coming from my perspective of being like, now she's going to put a voice to the chats, right? Like you're gonna like now hear me when I type, which I think is good. I think it actually makes it better because then you're gonna be able to interpret what I'm saying more clearly, which is always great.
Yeah, if it were up to me, there'd be like pictures and like personalization for everybody. I want to know everybody's like name and where they're from and remember them, and like I do my best with the usernames and like remembering as much as I possibly can. But it's always so nice to get to know who's on the other end, because it's like that's who you're interacting with all the time.
Yes. So like if somebody comes into my stream and says they stream, I want to go see them because I want to know who it is, and that's like the easiest way to do it for me.
That's true.
But I also like stream hopping. I'm everywhere if I can be. Even if I'm not streaming, a lot of the time I'm on Twitch, I'm in somebody's chat, especially now, which is so funny because I think at the beginning of this interview, I said I wouldn't go anywhere. I was only in your chat and that's it. And now I'm literally everywhere. Yeah, you definitely springboarded me into Twitch.
Nice.
But I remember you saying something like when we started speaking that like your voice is weird or whatever. When I heard your voice, I just like kept playing it. I hope this isn't like creepy. I just kept like playing it over and over and I was like standing up or sitting up or whatever, and then like I literally like laid down and just kept playing it, and I was like, what the fuck? Like I was like who is this person, like kind of a thing, because it was like a whole new person to me. And I also thought like, because I've been listening to radio for a long time, that's where I get my inspiration for like podcasting and doing streams and stuff, and then ASMR came into the category, and I was like, oh, I could do like ASMR like radio. I was like 100%, let's do that. And then when I heard your voice, I was like, you have such a good like radio voice. Your normal speaking voice is just so clear, crisp, like the enunciate. Even for like the 2 seconds you hear your voice, I was like, you can do radio. You could be like on a podcast. You could do something like this. Like your voice is so clean.
It makes me feel better because the only times that I have streamed or that I've like hopped on for like game nights or like Discord movie nights and stuff, and people hear my normal speaking voice, you know, at full volume.
Yes. Yeah.
I think people are just so shocked that like, you know, I don't get complimented or anything, and I'm not looking for that anyway, but it makes me a little bit insecure because I'm like, dang, like I think I have kind of an annoying voice. Like it's not, but I just, you know, I know it's a little bit different because everybody's used to the very soft, soothing whispers, so it's like it's a contrast.
For sure. It's just so different.
Yeah, so it's like my friends and stuff, like that's how they met me, is me talking regularly. So it's, you know, not something that
I would hope so, yeah.
yeah. So it's like for them, like hearing whispers and stuff like that, like it's like it's a little different, but like not that much. They're like, okay, yeah, that's what she sounds like if she's whispering. But for the community, I can imagine, like I forget that it's so different. Because like I don't really do soft spoken on stream, like it's like full blown whisper mode. I guess I never really think of that, and then it feels like really weird when everybody's like, oh, that's your voice, and I'm over here like, yeah, just a voice.
And for me hearing it was more like, because it is the contrast, and at first it's just, I think a lot of people's like gut or like knee-jerk reaction is, oh, that's it, because it's so different. It's just like, oh, this is now a new person, like I'm talking to, I'm interacting with, like, but I've worked on my voice to like get it to basically where it is, and it interests me whenever somebody has like a clean carried, I'll say a clean and like carried voice, which is what I'd say. That's what I was like hearing from you, because I was like, why doesn't she do like other stuff? Like, she might, I have no idea, but I was just curious, like, have you ever had like voice lessons or training, or even like a cardio based like athlete, like track or swimming or something? Because like a lot of time that's where that comes from.
Not at all. Actually, public speaking has been something that I hate, but I don't know, I guess it might have something to do with like I used to read a lot. Like I used to be like higher scoring people of my school. Like I was always in like the higher level classes. So I think it has something to do with like wanting to present yourself as like intelligent, I guess, maybe. So I try to put like effort into how I speak. I just realized recently how much I say like, and I hate it because I'm like, I feel like it makes me sound 200% dumber than I actually am. So I say like a lot as a transition word, or I used to say a lot, and I don't think I say as much anymore. But no voice lessons or anything like that. Yeah, there hasn't really been anything like that. So that's a big compliment. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I just genuinely like it was a really good shock for me. And I feel like it's almost like the equivalent of like when somebody wears glasses and then they take off their glasses and then people are like, oh, that's what you look like. It's like, dude, come on. It's like, don't say that to somebody.
That's so funny.
It's like, oh, that's what you sound like? Like, yeah, dude, that's what I sound like. So it's just, it's funny to me to like, I think what really did it was I wasn't expecting it either. And then I just came across it. I was like, oh, there's this thing, whatever. I don't know. Are you, number one, are you comfortable with me sharing like where it's from?
Oh yeah,
or no?
That's fine.
Okay, all right.
It's not like, you know, not common knowledge, and it's out there, and anytime somebody joins a Discord movie night, like you're gonna hear me like that anyways.
All right, yeah. It's just funny because it's the way it starts is you actually thanking somebody for something. You can't see it, it's off screen, but it's you playing Mortal Kombat and like watching a scene of just them going back and forth, and the only line you hear from Jay is is I trust nobody. which I think is the funniest way to be introduced into her voice. Uh, oh my god, it was I went back and forth from like being in shock to like laughing and to be back in shock and then just being like, I didn't want that. Like I wanted my initial reaction to hearing your voice being as like as authentic as possible, which most of it was the nerves of like actually talking and like recording and like doing the interview.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been amplified so much more if I didn't see that. So like at one point I'm like, it's probably for the better. But I knew what you sounded like because I was just sitting there like, what's happening? Like, who is this? Oh, it was so good to me.
I remember that stream. It was almost hard to play because everybody was so shocked about my voice, and I was just like, okay, maybe I shouldn't game this.
or more.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, you could take it either way.
That's true.
Yeah, I was so thrown off. In the best way possible, but I was thrown off. So I'm just going to set something straight because we've brought up The Office in this interview. The show. It's a good show. I'm going to say objectively it's a good show. Now, we go back and forth on this from time to time because I cannot watch it. I say it's a good show, but I can't watch it. And you love it. My brothers don't shut up about it. They love it so much. I'm just curious, what hooks you into that show? Why do you love it so much? Because I can't watch it because of the anxiety and the awkwardness just kills me. I can't do it. It hurts me way too bad.
I think, well, I was basically like pushed into it from my cousin, the one that I mentioned that makes fun of me and everything like that, you know. So at one point I lived with him and he literally had the Office thing on his room, like the little plaque, and he was obsessed with the Office, and he didn't even want to watch around me until I started watching it. So he's one of those people that are so convincing that if he tells you to try a food, like he's made me try more things than like anybody else probably has. But you know those friends or family members or people in your life that are just so like persuasive that you can be the most stubborn person and say no to them a million times, but then one day you find yourself and you're like, how in the world did he get me to do this? So that's exactly what happened. And I was not interested in The Office at first. I watched it like a couple episodes and I was like, no. And I was also extremely busy at the time doing like schoolwork and stuff. So I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'll watch it, but it's gonna have to be background because I don't have time to actually sit down and watch a show. And he tried to convince me, like, no, you have to actually pay attention now. So, like, my second time watching it through, I did actually pay attention. And I feel like every time I watch it through again, like, I pick up new, different things. Except for maybe after, like, the 14th time. You know, there's only so much you can pick up. Yeah, I have lost track. But then you get to start noticing the other background characters. And then you're like, I don't remember them making that face. That's pretty funny, you know? Like, there's always something new to pick up. I think just the humor of it, and I think it probably because it's kind of tied to, like, memories with my cousin, and then my brother got into it too. So it was like, because it's built off of inside jokes, like, I kind of like those, like, sitcom-y shows where, like, you feel like you're a part of it and, like, you feel like you get to know the people. It does take some time to develop that. But because the show is so built off of inside jokes and because it's so relatable in a sense, you know, just got a bunch of regular people. And I don't know, it's just the dumbest. I like dumb funny. Like things, there's just a lot of dumb funny stuff in that too. And yes, it is really cringe, but like that's also what makes it really funny too. Because it's just, you can't help but watch it, you know? And there's some episodes where I'm like, I don't think my heart can take this today. And I'm like, I gotta skip it, you know, like Scott's Tots. Oof, that one's hard. That to me, that's the number one cringiest episode. I will take that and fight with anyone on it. I've had fights about that with people. The engagement one with Carol, that one's a hard one too, but it does not take number one. I think Scott's Tot is number one for sure. I'd love to hear everybody else's thoughts on that, you know? what you think any Office fans out there, what you think the cringiest? Okay, we can definitely have a discussion about that.
I would love for the comments to just be Office, like out of all of
Put it
this to end
put
on
it
the
in the
Office and
comments
just
below.
yeah.
Has like some random relationship to this entire interview, and it's just like all Office comments. That would be so funny.
Mhm.
But no, I think
That
I
pretty
think
much I think that sums up like our relationship though too. It's like we've just been like big ASMR fans. We just like hang out on stream like all is well, and then it's just like, and then The Office comes up, and then it just explodes.
yeah, that's true. But I'm very passionate about getting people into the Office because I really feel like the Office is for everybody. And I know no show is for everybody, but like I didn't give it a chance and then I did give it a chance. It's so like well written. There's so many like little details about it. And I think the development is what I love about it so much because it's based off of inside jokes. And like when I watched it for the first time and it ended, I felt like, oh my gosh, where did all my friends go? They felt like they were my friends too. And I was just like, there are very
Mhm.
few shows that I get that attached. How I Met Your Mother is another one. So I'm a
Mm.
huge How I Met Your Mother fan. So anybody that comes in with The Office or How I Met Your Mother jokes, like I'm instantly, we're friends. As long as you're nice, we are friends, and I'm about it 1,000%.
I mean, I can't think of a better way to end than saying if you do go into Jay's chat after that and you've never been, there's an easy icebreaker, which is just How I Met Your Mother and The Office jokes.
And even if you say that you've never seen either of them, I will educate you and give you reasons why to watch both of them. And I won't see I we even have mods that are not even into Mortal Kombat. So
Hmm.
if I don't judge about that, then I won't judge you, I promise. We might have a little chat about it, jokingly,
Hmm.
but no judgment.
So I'm gonna say, any questions for me? Is there anything that you're interested in? I think I told you, if you would like to, that there will be a chance for you to just kind of ask me whatever. So I don't know if you have anything for me.
No, I can't remember. I must have forgotten that part, so I'm sorry. But I do want
No,
to,
that's fine.
thank you for everything. And this has been a really fun experience. And especially because I haven't been able to make content lately the way that
Mm.
I'm used to. It's been really nice to be able to kind of like share this, and I can't wait to share this with the rest of the community so that like people can kind of like catch up to speed and get to know me more if they haven't. And also in ASMR too, like just because I've revealed a lot of things on stream doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to hear it because a lot of the times they could be asleep. So this has been a really fun way to like kind of just talk a little bit more in depth in a different setting. You did a really great job on the questions and everything, and I appreciate you taking your time and having me as your first interview. It's been pretty phenomenal.
I need to thank you for your time, number one, because you agreed to do this, and yeah, it's cool to get back to the community I've been a part of for a while. Also, this is literally like making a dream of mine come true. So thank you. Because the goal with my YouTube channel, the first goal was just to review ASMR creators in like an overview fashion. I could do that by myself. The first goal, done as soon as I made my first video. Second, I have 3. The second goal was to start interviewing ASMR creators. So that's done. I've done it. Thank you.
Yay! You're welcome.
And couldn't have asked for a better guest for one, just because at this point, this was the easiest way to start this for sure. And I was still quaking in my boots. So, but this was very fun. It was cool, like looking things up and I don't know, going through it. That was fun. So thank you. Thanks for being
Yeah,
here.
for sure. No
Um,
problem at all. And yeah, I don't know what else to say, but yeah, thank you again for anybody listening. You have already been a part of my community. Then I just want to thank you for being a part of the awesome community that I've been bragging about. I continue to brag about 24/7. And I even talk to my real life people about how awesome the community is whenever, I'm talking about like Twitch and stuff and why I love it. But if you have not checked out our stream, then I super appreciate you going to check it out as well. So that means a lot.
And it's Future Mitch one more time. And if you've made it to third Future Mitch, you are a real one. I hope you enjoyed it, man. It was a lot of work to do this. This is the most work I've put into the channel by far. So I really appreciate you guys making it to the end here. Of course, there's all the like, subscribe, comment stuff, but yeah, if you've made it to the end here, I assume you've done all that. And if you're interested, please go check out Jay and all of her links down below, as well as all the other people who were mentioned. And while I was writing who I watched and things like that, like, people have been just so helpful. So thank you guys. Go get a drink of water, do something for yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a bunch.